Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Wednesday. I don't know about you, middle of the week, it's kind of tough waking up. And, well, maybe it's because it is the middle of the week. But, hey, let's take a look at what will be the semi-continuous reading if your church decides to go in that direction for the Revised Common Lectionary. Now, what is the semi-continuous reading? Well, during that long season of ordinary time and also during some other times as well, you can choose to read an alternate Old Testament reading and psalm. And these ones just kind of take you right through, like, say, the book of Genesis. You start at the beginning and work your way through it. And possibly Exodus too. You'll do it with the different kings through 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, all that kind of stuff. Okay? And that could be a good thing. The only thing it does that's not as desirable, at least for me, is that it separates any connection of the Old Testament reading from the gospel reading for that day. So if you're going to do that in your church, you pretty much have to stick with having sermons on those Old Testament readings just to keep the flow in mind. And again, it's not a bad thing. And so what we have as the alternative reading, Old Testament reading, is chapter 23 of 2 Samuel. We kind of have skipped a whole bunch of Samuel to move up to this point, but it's done purposely because this is Christ the King Sunday, and they wanted the semi-continuous reading to match, at least at this point in the time, the last Sunday of the church year. And here we have a psalm. A psalm in the book of Samuel? Yeah, it's one of those odes that we talked about last week. You might recall there are 14 odes identified by the Greek versions of the Older Testament that stick these particular readings at the end of the Psalms, whereas in the other Old Testaments that we have available to us, they're kind of scattered all through the different books of the Bible. And here we have one that's called The Last Words of David. And it's chapter 23, verses 1 through 7. Now, there's only one problem with this, and that is if you were to keep on reading in Samuel and in the Chronicles, you're going to find out that there's up to 10 last words of David. Like, what's that all about? I mean, he just keeps going and going. Like, he's on his deathbed. He gives some words to Solomon. He gives words to the other people of Israel, and he's just about gone. And he catches his breath, and he keeps going on and on. So there's a lot of last words. And it's because the biographers really wanted to capture who this guy was. And they kind of build him up. For instance, this is how it starts. These are the last words of David. And here we go. The oracle of David, son of Jesse, the oracle of the man whom God exalted, the anointed of the God of Jacob, the favorite of the strong one of Israel. Man, really, David's really building himself up, isn't he? He just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then he calls himself a prophet. The Spirit of the Lord speaks through me. His word is upon my tongue. No, that's what the prophets did. Holy mackerel. And it just goes on in that vein. And he says, the one who rules over people justly, well, that's me. I'm ruling in the fear of God. And that person is like the light of the morning, like the sun rising on a cloudless morning, gleaming from the rain on the grassy land. In other words, had a nice rainfall over the evening, and into the morning hours, the sun comes up and brings warmth, and now the fields are fertile and they're producing fruit. I mean, this is the way my reign was. Well, folks, we have to read the rest of 1st and 2nd Samuel, and we find out that, no, that's not the way the reign of David was. they are very, very open and honest that David did some pretty dumb things. He did some things that weren't too pleasing to God. And David paid the price for some of those dumb things. So how is it his last words kind of smooth over all that? Is he forgetful in his old age as he's about to die? Well, let's look at it this way. Many times we have biographies written about people that, yeah, they honestly show different portions of their lives that weren't too kosher. But when you get to the very, very end, what do? You remember the bright moments, the good moments. We do that in our eulogies that we have in church. We don't sit there and blast a person to pieces as we're standing there next to their coffin. No, we talk about the good times. We talk about those places where they really showed love and care and concern for others. And that's important. It's important that we do that. It was important for the authors to record these words of David here and elsewhere whenever you come up to some of his last words, because they did show that other side of him that was faithful and that was genuine in the midst of all the times that he really messed up as well. And it's important for us to see that because Jesus, who is King, who we celebrate as Christ the King this Sunday, he's from the line of David. So you want to show that connection between the Older Testament kings that moved on up and now the ultimate king in the line of David is here in Jesus Christ. So that's why this particular passage is picked to be read today if you're using the semi-continuous readings from the book of Samuel. 2 Samuel chapter 23 verses 1 through 7. Well, I'm looking around outside here and there's still some leaves falling down. I talked about this yesterday, and I did get out there, got the front lawn done, but that was all that I had time for. So maybe I'll try to sneak out there and do a little more today. But in the meantime, you enjoy your day. Get out there, rake your front lawn. And if not doing that, at least get out. Take a nice walk. We have an overcast day coming up and maybe a few sprinkles here and there. But this is all a part of God's wondrous creation as the earth now goes to sleep and prepares for winter. But then we know what comes in the spring. Resurrection. Not only Easter, but resurrection of life all around us. God's blessings be with you.